I'm back in the kitchen today, but I'm not cooking. I'm assembling our dinner. I'm making a charcuterie board. I feel like if you know what you're doing, if you've had one before, then it's pretty easy to put one together. If you know what you like, it can be really easy to make one of these. But if you've never had one and the only interpretations of a charcuterie board that you have seen come from like fancy restaurants or on Instagram, it can be a little bit intimidating to make. And so I want to show you just how we make a charcuterie board. This is going to be our dinner tonight. This is something that we do around the holidays when we have all kinds of special cheeses. Sometimes it's like a really great keto meal if you skip some of these things, and I'll point those out when we get there. But I want to just kind of walk you through my process of assembling our charcuterie board. These are never the same, okay? And I'm also not as fancy as you can get with a charcuterie board. Sometimes you can get really fancy with them, and I don't do that, okay? I have tried that before, and I usually end up eating it as I'm making it. I'm gonna try to be good this time, but I wanna show you all of the things that I've got set out because we're gonna start assembling, because dinner should be had in about 20 to 30 minutes, and it shouldn't take that long. It might because I'm talking, but we'll see. But I'm gonna show you what I've got in front of me, and we'll put our charcuterie board together. First, you start with the thing that you're gonna put your charcuterie board on. If you're gonna be transporting it somewhere, like to a party, I would suggest putting it inside like a Tupperware, a wide, very wide, flat. It doesn't have to be very tall, but a wide Tupperware would be fine. Something with a lid is fine. You could put it on a platter and wrap it in plastic. If you're gonna do it at home, you could do it on a cutting board, like I'm going to. You could also just put down a sheet of like parchment paper and just do it right on the countertop. And something like this is a granite countertop. If you do a granite, or if you do have a granite countertop, this might even help sort of semi-refrigerate your cheese, just because it is a cold stone. So I have this really cool, I think it's like a cutting board. This was sent to my mom by a very dear friend, and we love it. And it came in a box without even a card. I just thought that it was so funny because they know each other so well. They can just send gifts without even saying anything, and I think it's beautiful. So we have our base covered. Now let's talk about meat. I like to do pre-cut meats. We've got some pepperoni, we've got some salami. You can get these from Aldi for pretty cheap. Like pepperoni is really cheap. You could also do like a really, really thin shaved roast beef. You could do some sliced turkey, but we like the cured meats. This is a spicy salami because that's kind of what Mom and I like with this. And I think it's really easy to pile these up on crackers with some cheese. Speaking of cheese, let's talk about our cheeses. It's really easy to be overwhelmed by cheese, okay? So if you go to the grocery store, again, I'm gonna talk about Aldi. Aldi's cheese section is so good. They have some really great cheeses. Now, I think the only cheese that I have here from Aldi is this one, and it's a pepperoni and marinara semi-soft cheese. Obviously, we've been eating on this one. It's about halfway gone. The trick to picking cheeses for your charcuterie board is to pick different flavors and different textures. You don't want all of them to taste the same. You kind of want them to go together. So this one is a balsamic cheese, but it's also a harder cheese. This one is a garlic and herb goat cheese, so this one's going to be creamier and softer, but the balsamic and the garlic and herb will go together. They won't fight each other. I do have a blueberry goat cheese in the fridge, but I'm not going to use that tonight because it won't go so well with this one. Now this one is very, very different. This is a Hatch Chili New York State cheese. Now, this one is kind of our outlier, so it's not going to go with anything, but it is going to stand on its own. So we've got a different cheese, and then we have our pepperoni and marinara, and that one will go with the garlic, and it'll go with the balsamic. So they'll all go together, and then we've got this one as sort of a palate cleanser, if you will. And then you kind of need some vegetables. I do have some carrots in the fridge that I'm going to pull out, but they're still in there. And then we move into pickled vegetables. I've got some olives. There's not very many in here, but don't worry. I have another jar of these in the pantry. I've also got some capers and then little cornichon gherkin pickles. So we've got some little pickles and some little olives, and I just think that they go really nice on a charcuterie board. You don't have to go overboard with this. I think it's really easy to go overboard, but I think the whole focus is the cheese and the meat, and everything else is just supplementary. So we've only got a couple of these. And then we've got some spreads. Now this is an apricot and cumin spread, and this one came from Aldi in this kit. It's a specially selected cheese pairing spread set. So it's got the apricot and cumin, pear and cinnamon, cherry and rosemary, and the fig and honey. And I think they're really fun, but the only one we've opened is this one. But honestly, when I saw this at Aldi, I could not say no. And I'm really excited to try the cherry and rosemary one. I think that'll be really fun when we open that. I also have this blueberry jalapeno jelly. I got this one at the State Fair in Alaska. I love it so much. It's so good. And I think it will sort of mirror the spice in this. This is not overwhelming. I can't speak to this one. It says it's mildly spicy, so I think that it'll be good. And then I've set out some other things. I don't think I'm gonna open these, but just to show you some other spreads that you could set out, I've got a hot mustard. This is a black olive spread. It's like a tapenade. And then this one is an artichoke pesto. I think both the artichoke pesto and the black olive spread, I think this one did. I know this one did. Anyway, I think they both came from TJ Maxx. So that is always a fun place to look for things to put on your charcuterie board. Then in these Tupperware containers, I have some almonds. We've got some roasted peanuts. And then these are just like mixed cocktail nuts like cashews and walnuts and pecans and stuff. So I like to have some nuts, and then you have your crackers. This one is a Triscuit 4 cheese and herb blend. And then this one is a cracker assortment that we actually got from Aldi. I think this whole box was $6 or $8, and there's so many crackers in here, and they're all different flavors. So there's a bunch of different flavors in the crackers in this box, and it's a great deal. So let's get started putting our stuff out on our board. I'm gonna start with our meat. If you have things like prosciutto, you could always like make your roses with the wine glass. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't like that because it's very hard to take it apart. I do really like these small discs because they're easy to just like pick up what you're looking for. I don't want to fold them up together because it makes it more difficult to get what you want, like your portion size. So I'm gonna try to separate them and just make a little pile. Like I said, I'm not an Instagram professional at this, okay? I'm just trying to make it so that it's easy for us to eat, not exactly focusing on what it looks like. Now, one of the tricks that I've learned to make your charcuterie boards more visually appealing is to separate the types of food. So if you've got a couple of meats, don't put them like right next to each other. Put them sort of throughout the board, just because it kind of helps make separate textures and different looks on the charcuterie board. We do kind of care how it looks because, you know, okay, I can't help it. I do kind of care how it looks. Now I've got a really, really sharp knife. You could, if you really, really wanted to, take your cheese and just unwrap it and set it on your charcuterie board. I personally hate this because no one at your party is going to eat it, okay? So if you peel your cheese and you don't cut any of it, chances are it's going to go bad. It's going to go uneaten. No one's going to eat your cheese because no one wants to be the one to break into it, you know? So I like to always cut my cheese into chunks that I feel are an appropriate size. Now maybe mine are smaller chunks than what other people would make, but that's okay because that just means people can go back and have more and they don't feel so bad about it. So, also, I only cut maybe some of what I think I'm gonna need. So I hope people are gonna really like this cheese. Like, we're pretending I'm having a party. This is what we're gonna have for dinner. But if I was having a party, like we had a charcuterie board for Christmas the other day, and it was really nice because all of the cheese was pre-cut, but I like to leave this brick of cheese out with the other cheese. So one, we know what it is, and so two, we know that there's more. So if this one runs out, it's really easy for me to cut more of this. And if I'm at a party, it's really easy for people to know, oh, it's okay for me to have a bunch of this because there's more for other people. At least that's the way I think about it. Softer cheeses are a little bit different. So I've got my goat cheese that's in one of these weird like tube packages. So I peel the back off almost to the like halfway point, and then I fold the top part back. Now it's not gonna be very pretty for the first piece of cheese or the first bite of cheese. But since this goat cheese is a softer cheese, I don't want to slice this. I'm just going to make it really easy for other people to walk up and say, grab a cracker, and all they have to do is sort of scrape it off with their cracker, or they can use like a carrot stick. I might have like a little butter knife or like a dip spreader or something set with this one. But this one is just going to sit on the tray like this. I like to keep it wrapped because I don't want all of it to go bad. We can unwrap it more as we eat it, but that's how I get that one started. This cheese is awkwardly shaped, but it is also the cheese that I know is gonna be my crowd pleaser. So I'm gonna cut more of this one than I would of the hatch chili or the balsamic. Some people don't like balsamic vinegar at all. Some people really can't handle spicy foods, my sister being one of them. So those cheeses are gonna be a little bit more niche, okay? So cheeses like this, like it's a pepperoni and mozzarella, it's a very, very good cheese, sort of tastes like pizza, which I think is definitely in its favor. So I'm gonna cut this one into bite-sized pieces, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut more of this one than I did of the other cheese, the balsamic, because I know this one is gonna be the one that more people are gonna wanna eat. It also comes in handy because this is the cheese that I've had open longer. So this one I opened tonight. This one I've had open for a couple of days. It's still good, but I get to get rid of this one, and I know that that one's gonna be the crowd pleaser. Now this cheese is our spicy one. So I'm only gonna take a little bit of this one. Now there's something unique about this one that I wanna talk about. This one has a wax coating on it. Always, always, always remove from your cheese the parts of the cheese that people should not eat, okay? Don't leave something inedible on your cheese board. This goes for cupcakes and cake decorating. One of the most offensive things that you can do, in my opinion, is leave something totally inedible on your food that you're serving to people. Because, like, let's pretend again that you're at a party and you've taken a charcuterie board and you've got something on there like that wax that you're not supposed to eat, but somebody else doesn't know that. So then they try to eat this and now they're eating wax or they're choking on wax. Don't do that, okay? Just take away the things that are not edible. Just remove it from the situation. You should be able to eat everything on here, unless it's something clear like this. The cheese is still wrapped. This can be confusing because it fits so tight to the cheese, it almost looks like a rind, like this one. Now this balsamic has a rind because it's been soaking in balsamic vinegar. You can eat this one. You can't eat wax. So that's the difference, okay? So you always want to make sure that people can either, one, very, very easily distinguish this is not edible, or two, no, I can eat this whole hunk of cheese, okay? Just remove the wax. There's my point. So next I'm gonna add a couple of bowls. You've got jars like this for your pickles, you could just leave it like that on your board, okay? One, it's gonna let people know what these are if they can't tell that they're tiny pickles. Maybe they need some other help, but these bowls are really handy for things like spreads. If you don't want to serve it in the jar, this one's tiny, so I'm just gonna leave that one there. And the thing about the jars is that it's so easy to put the lids back on. But let's say you've got olives. This one's in a funky shaped jar. How are you gonna get those out of there? Put them in a bowl. It's really easy. We've got our nuts. Now, these are in containers. It's really easy to just kind of set these out around, you know, scatter them around. I do like to leave my knife on the charcuterie board because I think it makes it easier for people to cut more cheese as they need it. Let's say they need the knife for the goat cheese. That's really easy for them. So I don't want to move that because it needs to be accessible. Let me get my carrots. As much as I love things like olives and pickles and, you know, like pickled green beans or pickled asparagus, I really like to have a fresh vegetable on the charcuterie. I just think it adds something that you can't get from anything else. So we've got cheese, we've got spreads, we've got vegetables. The only other thing that we need is some crackers. Now, I'm gonna add some Triscuits to the middle. I really like to add or use a cracker that doesn't have a like very, very powerful flavor profile, just because we should be focusing on the cheese and the meat and the spread and not so much the cracker. The cracker can add something to it, but it's not always necessary to have a very flavorful cracker. So also, I wanted to talk about these one more time. I really, really think that this box of crackers, now when you take it out of the box, it's served, you know, sort of like an assortment of crackers, which is really nice. You can even leave it in the plastic tray that it's served in. But I think these Triscuits are gonna be enough for us. Also, I like to keep a bunch of extra crackers on hand. You don't have to keep those out, but if you're at a party and you're circulating and you notice that something is in need of a refill, the crackers are easy to grab out of the pantry or wherever, and they kind of take up space on the counter. Things like this, once it runs low or runs out, just get rid of the jar. Don't worry about leaving it there. You know, I just think an empty jar of pickles is really sad. So you can kind of take things away as you run out of them, rearrange and spread things out as you run out of cheese. But I'm really excited to eat this for dinner. I've had a couple of chunks of this balsamic cheese and it's very yummy. All right, let's make something else, because let's just pretend for a second that you don't even have time to assemble a charcuterie board, okay? So get yourself a cutting board, get yourself a wide plate or bowl. If it's gonna be a plate, it should have sides that kind of come up because you don't want this to run all over, okay? So I've got, it's like a Christmas dish, but it's got, you know, a little bit of a bowl type of feature to it. I'm going to add 2 cloves of grated garlic just directly to that. And then I'm going to add a little bit of, this is shredded Parmesan cheese. I keep this in my freezer. You could use grated Parmesan cheese. I know this is done at restaurants with grated Parmesan cheese. I like the shredded because I like the texture of it. So I'm gonna just add that to here and kind of mix in with my hands that garlic, just because I want it to be spread evenly throughout this cheese. And that's the best way I can find to do that. And then I will just sort of spread it evenly around the plate. Let me rinse off my fingers. The rest of this is really, really easy. You've got some extra virgin olive oil. This is an extra virgin olive oil that was part of a gift that was given to me for Christmas from some new friends that I met who just moved to Florida from Vegas. And it was part of a gift. They also gave me this beautiful balsamic vinegar, and I've already used them. I love them so much. The bread actually came from the two, so it's a wonderful gift. But I'm just going to add a very, very generous amount of olive oil to this cheese. Now this is gonna serve a lot of people. It's gonna look like a lot of olive oil because it is, but it's a good fat. Since it's liquid at room temperature, you know that it can't be too bad for you. So next goes the drizzle of the balsamic. And then I always top with some fresh ground black pepper. I don't think you can go wrong with this. You could sprinkle on some like flaked or very coarse salt to this if you don't think that it's gonna be salty enough. And then you slice your bread. I like to do thinner slices because I want it to be able to soak up that olive oil. So I'm just gonna cut this one in half for me. And let's have a bite because I can't stand the weight anymore. This one is another instance where it's really, really easy to refill. Once it runs down, you just add more cheese, add more oil, add more vinegar, add more salt or pepper or garlic as you see fit. So if you don't like the balsamic vinegar, don't add it. Add, you know, something else or nothing. It's really good if you don't even add the balsamic vinegar, but it's really good with the vinegar. So this one is definitely a very, very, very easy crowd pleaser. And it's so simple. All you really need are the cheese, the olive, and the cheese, the olive oil, the vinegar, and the bread. You could skip the garlic. You can skip the salt and pepper. You could add a different kind of seasoning. You could add like chili flakes to this if you wanted to make it a little more spicy. But this one's really easy and it's super fast and it's a crowd pleaser. And then, like, how do you beat that? It's just so pretty. Gosh, I'm so excited for dinner tonight, which should be beginning anytime. And we're ready because it's so fast. I did tell you I would mention the things that are not keto friendly. I know that I've done some keto things in this channel before. We're gonna be getting back into that in the new year, but right now we're between holidays, so I'm not all that worried about it. But I do wanna mention, you can do this with keto bread instead of this. You could skip the crackers, skip the spreads like a jelly. There's gonna be some calories and sugar in there. Carbs, calories, sugar. But other than the crackers and the very, very sweet jams, these are really pretty keto friendly. Like, skip the bread, obviously, or find a keto bread. Skip the crackers or find a keto cracker. But this is one of my favorite keto meals because I can make a meal out of just cheese and meat and like nuts and carrots. You could make a keto dip. I did a dip video recently, how to dress up your dips, and we've still got some dip in the fridge, and I know that those are going to be coming out for our carrots because I think they're going to be really good friends. But it's really, really easy to make this keto friendly, or if you're trying to be health conscious, you know, it's really easy to just sort of cut out the things that you don't want to have, like on your diet. If you don't want to have pickled vegetables because they're high in sodium, a charcuterie board makes that really, really easy because you just don't take any. It's not like it's all mixed into a dish. So that's another one of my favorite things about these. But as promised, I've shown you how to make a charcuterie board, and I even did a bonus bread dip demonstration. So you got a bonus today too. But that's gonna be it from me for today. So you guys will see me in the next video, maybe tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, then soon. So you guys will see me soon. Bye.